Hi everybody, it's Nick. Haven't vlogged for a while. It's all been a bit busy this end actually. We've been 15 years in the making. We've been having an extension done. We've been planning it for nearly 15 years actually, and the storms last year forced our hand because they did some damage. So and I guess that's one of the things about lockdown, because we didn't have holidays this year. It's quite amazing how much you actually spend on them. So that's not the point of the vlog. The point of the vlog, I wanted to talk about women actually, and the pressure on women. So I was on a really great conference panel yesterday with Asha Pillar. Thank you very much, Asha, for inviting me to be on it. It was a great pleasure. And we were talking a lot about what's commonly referred to as squiggly careers, and the choices. You can tell it's early in the morning. I still only had one cup of tea. That women are very often forced to make because they are juggling so many balls around, being a mum, being a wife, being a homemaker, perhaps being a single parent, all kinds of different reasons. And the thing that hit me is that I think actually there's a lot of pressure, or I feel, or I perceive, or I see, particularly online on social media, there seems to be a lot of pressure on women to have a career. And I think there's lots of different ways that women operate, okay? And having a career is one of them. I'm a classic example of somebody probably with one of the most squiggly career paths you can imagine. So, I've had a very mainstream corporate career for, over 20 years. I then, I guess I had children later in life. I settled down later in life. And I then, was an entrepreneur for a number of years. I ran my own business with my own employees, and, there's still challenges. They're just different challenges to the corporate world. You do just swap one set for another. There's no two ways about it. The pressure's not any less. It's just different. I've also worked part-time, mainly actually for a few years in the not-for-profit sector, which actually suited me very well when I had young children. I've done voluntary work, I've done pro bono work, and I've done no work. I am in a blessed position where, I'm part of a team. My husband and I are a team, and we split the roles between us. And that does mean that, I was blessed enough to make the choice to be a stay-at-home mum with the children, which I did for a good few years. And predominantly, that is still my main role now, is the homemaker and being the mum. Albeit, I do work, but I work differently. And one of the things I've found is that there seems to be a lot of, so it's a mixed message, because on one hand, I think it's brilliant that there's so much support. And certainly, my eldest child is 14 years old. And so I walked away from the corporate world 14 years ago to set my own business up. And at that point, the thought of having kids, managing all of that with a career, was really one of the reasons. There were several reasons, but it was one of the reasons why I left, because I just couldn't see how I was going to do that, because the world was a very, very different place for women then. And having recently returned to that world, it is great. I mean, it's beyond imagination, the changes that I see, the support that I see, the conversations that you are able to have, the boundaries that you are able to set around not just being a mum, but also your own mental well-being and the own space and balance that you need for yourselves. It is, the world has moved on enormously, much for the better, and I am very, very, I'm very pleased and delighted to see that. But there is, and maybe it's just what I see online, maybe it's just my feed, but I do see there's almost this assumption that all women need or want to have this big career. And I'm not sure that's true, because there's lots of different parts to us. So I really miss the intellectual stimulation of a big career. I really, really miss that. And I try and create that in different ways, because I don't want to give everything up, because I really love the freedom I have. I really love having headspace, being able to have time to be creative, being able to have long walks with the dogs, being able to be a swimmer. I had a 20-year gap. I mean, I've been in the pool swimming since I was 4 years old. And I had 20 years when I was in the headiness of my main career, where I didn't swim. I mean, obviously the odd time I did, but I didn't train or do any proper swimming. And one of the big things about leaving my career is that, you know, I'm a pretty regular, and at one point did go back to competing swimming. I do outsource swimming and all kinds of things now. That's something I would never have had time for. And I love having those choices, and I love having the choices to be able to get the kids from school, to be able to do dinner and so forth. And there's a real quandary here, because I don't want to give it all up. And I think somebody said to me, you know, oh, you want your cake and you want to eat it, Nick. And I'm thinking, do you know what? I do. And I wonder whether it is wrong of me to want my cake and to eat it, and whether actually it's a reflection on society that we force ourselves too much into one dimension. And I don't think this is just about women. I think this is about everybody. We are all lots of dimensions. There are lots of things in us that make us tick. And I think the whole thing comes down to balance. I really do. The balance of being able to feel that you're of value and to have a purpose. The balance of being able to stimulate your intellect in the way that you need to. The balance of being able to have time for yourself. The balance of being able to have time for your family. The balance of not feeling that you're compromising the very core of who you are. And for me, that doesn't translate into a big career. That translates into a very mixed bag of different things, and having time to be creative and to think and to be able to create home. I mean, the reason I haven't vlogged and written as much is because we've been doing our extension. I've been channeling all of my creativity into our physical space, into designing, driving the builders mad, showing them how I want things done, and painting and recycling and doing all of those things, which are nourishment for the soul just as much as, you know, doing some very, you know, highbrow intellectual consulting stuff. And that's the point I want to make. It's not always just, we're not one thing. We are not one thing. And I don't think it's necessarily about having this massive career. I think it is about having, you know, a balance and being honest with yourself about the things that really matter. And if that is a big career, then that's fantastic. And if that's what is right for you, fantastic. And if it isn't, then that's okay too. And I don't think there's anything that's better or worse. There's no right answer. There's just your answer. And that's what I wanted to say. So I don't, you know, I think, or I perceive there to be perhaps an assumption and pressure out there about getting all women back into careers. And that career, it's okay for it to be something that you carve out that suits your way of life and your values and your needs. And it doesn't have to be one thing. So I think the point is just to be true to yourself and to define what your own version of success looks like. That's true success, is when you can own it and it's really yours. So I hope that helps. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.